Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And now today we are starting our another series of lecture on the topic of research methodology. In this topic we will cover different types of studies uh, like observational studies and randomized control trials or experimental studies. And in addition to these studies, we will discuss what is evidence-based medicine, how to evaluate the clinical literature, and how to write research paper. So, let us start our first lecture from the topic of observational research and methodology. And I am with you. My name is Professor Dr. Sheikh Abdul Khalid. I am head of the Department of Pharmacy Practice in Faculty of Pharmacy, Hamdard University, Karachi. So let us continue our topic of observational research and methodology. So first of all, what is research? According to the National Science Foundation, research is a systematic study directed towards fuller scientific knowledge or understanding of the subject studies. Right? So it is a systematic way to study, and its direction is towards to understand the subject available in the studies. So this is defined by National Science Foundation of USA. According to Rajinder R. Aparasu and J.P. Bentley, high quality research is vital to developing new medication and clinical services. It also provides the knowledge base to effectively use these products and services. So this is provided by the scientist that high quality research is extremely essential. It is imperative. Why it is imperative? For developing new medication and clinical services. Well, basic classification of research. So there are two ways on the base of two bases on the two pyramids here on the basis of which we can classify the research. The first is biomedical research. Biomedical research, basic research, applied research, clinical research, and pharmaceutical practice and policy or transitional research. Biomedical research, in this research you may find basic research on physiology, anatomy, and then the basic research on pharmacology, pathology, applied research. Then we will go for the clinical pharmacy, means the drug application or therapeutics, then clinical pharmacy, clinical practice guideline, and then the practice, how to practice these, and the transition research, that how you can transform all these data into the practice. The other way, there are two types of research: descriptive research, for example prevalence of disease, and analytical research, for example relationship between two or more variables. In the descriptive research you may find the details, or you will do what kind of research you will do here, that you will for example find the incidences of the disease, that how many number of cases are occurring in particular population for particular disease, or in a particular period of time, or from the beginning, like prevalence. In analytical research, the second type of research, you will determine the relationship between two or more variable. Two or more variable, for example, one variable, suppose that is a drug, and the second variable is blood pressure or diabetes or sugar control. So you will determine the relationship between the drug. If you will give the drug, then what will happen on blood pressure or the diabetes or the sugar control. So these are the two variables. Sometimes there are more than two variables. That, for example, if you are taking a drug of anti lipidemic drug, means the anti-cholesterol drug, the cholesterol reducing agent. So in this drug you will have a variable, more than two variable, like one variable is drug itself, that another variable LDL cholesterol reduction, triglyceride reduction, obesity reduction, weight reduction, If the patient is having hypertension, so control of hypertension. If the patient is diabetic, so control of diabetes. So there are many variables here to evaluate by compare to single drug or from the single drug, that how this single drug can influence all these variables. So this is called analytical research, or it is also called experimental research. This descriptive research is also called observational research. Now, what are the steps of scientific research? First of all, you should have a research question or research hypothesis. Like for example, what could be the research question or research hypothesis? Suppose that I am making a new antihypertensive drug and I claim that this drug is a good antihypertensive medication. So my research question is that this drug, whether this drug provide good antihypertensive effect or not. This is my research question. And what would be my hypothesis? My hypothesis could be that my drug will be same like other antihypertensive drug in reduction of blood pressure, or my drug will have better control of blood pressure compared to other available drugs in the market. These two hypotheses are examples here. So we can choose any one hypothesis based upon our confidence that which hypothesis is applicable on our research. Number one, maybe our hypothesis is that our drug is reducing the blood pressure similar to like other antihypertensive drugs available in the market, or my drug is reducing the blood pressure more than more reduction in hypertension compared to available drugs in the market. Then what is the next step of research after posing the research question? Develop and implement a research plan. We will be needing to develop the research plan and then implement it. How we can develop and implement, that we will discuss later on. Perform data collection. Next step, once the research plan is implemented, then obviously data will start to come. Suppose that we are doing same research on antihypertensive drug. So what is our plan? To include the population or the patient who is having blood pressure in certain age group. Then we will design the protocol of the study and implement it. Then we will start to give give medication, my medication, antihypertensive medication, and comparator, because we are comparing, or I am comparing my medication with other drug. So the data will start to come, that blood pressure reduction data of my drug and the standard drug or the already available in the market drug. Then after collection of the data, I will analyze the data and perform the statistical test that which drug is significantly better in reducing the blood pressure. And the last is the preparation of the research report or research paper. Once the findings are there and the drug is showing efficacy, then I have to publish this data in some research report or in research journal. What are the desirable characteristics of research question? Means that research question, how we can check that our question is valid. First of all, in this diagram, we can see that all parameters are equally important. Number one, our research should be feasible. Feasible means that it is possible to conduct in our society. Second thing is interesting. The people are interested to know about it. Like for example, nowadays people are interested in the research on coronavirus, vaccines against coronavirus infection. There must be novelty, means something new. Ethical parameters should also be evaluated and implemented, and it should be relevant. For example, suppose that if in my society some disease is not existing and I am doing research, so it is irrelevant. So that if it is irrelevant, then there will be no interest in that research, and the feasibility is also zero for that. So there must be relevancy. It should be relevant to our research, and the research question should confine these parameters. Now, what are the components of scientific research? This is called PICOTS model, PICOTS. This should be identified that how you will do research. In which population, first of all. In your population, children will be there, adult will be there, or elderly will be there. So if I am doing research on antihypertensive drugs, my research will include elderly patients and adults. Interventions, what interventions I am using? Medication, device, or service. Medication, suppose that medication I am using my own antihypertensive medication and I am comparing it with some other medication. If I am using the device, so this is intervention is device. For example, I am using the effect of use of inhaler in delivering of the drug in lung, or the service, for example, I am providing services to the patient and I want to check my patient services are satisfying to them. So this is a type of service research. The intervention could be anyone. Comparator, what comparator I am using to compare to my medication, either placebo or any treatment or usual care. Usual care means that drug which is available from the beginning, means already in the market. Outcome, what is outcome? There could be three outcome or any one of outcome from my research. Economic outcome, that my drug is better. If I want to prove in the research that my drug is better than the other drug or comparative drug. Or the clinical outcome, that the clinical antihypertensive effect is better of my drug compared to other available drug. Or humanistic outcome, that it is improving the quality of life of the patient compared to other drug. Timings, what are the timings of the study? It is a short-term study, intermediate study, or long-term study. Where I will do, in which setting I will do this research? Outpatient setting, inpatient setting, or long-term care facility. So these are the components of scientific research which should be answered. Then research design. Research design could be, as I told you in the beginning, either experimental or observational. If we are talking about experimental research, it could be randomized control trials, RCTs, health or pharmacoeconomics research, like you are talking about the economy of the drug or the health care setting. In observational research, you could have cohort studies or cross-sectional studies. Then the next step is the collection of the data. How you will collect the data? There are two methods for the collection of the data. The number one is the primary method and the second is the secondary method. In what you will do, how you will collect the data in primary method? In this method, collect the data specifically for research, surveys and laboratory tests and prospective data. Okay, this is very important. Prospective data means that you will collect the data according to the need of your research. Maybe in surveys you will design the questionnaire according to the objective of your study, according to the need of your study. So you will generate this data. This type of data is called primary data. But in secondary data, use of data collected for other purpose, for example medical charts and medical claims, or the retrospective data, means that you are doing research but you are not collecting data, or you are not designing any questionnaire to collect the data, but you are collecting data from the retrospective charts or the patient's files. The data which has been collected for other purposes, means for example medical records for doctors understanding, for pharmacists understanding, for medical claims from the insurance companies. This data has been collected for this purpose, but you will use this already collected data or already available data in your own research. So when you are not designing any surveys to collect the data, but you are using this data from the patient records or files or retrospective data, then this type of data when you are using is called secondary method or secondary method or secondary collection method of the data. So these are the two ways. Most of the researchers, they try to collect their own data as prospective data for their survey research. Now, what are the components of research report, means research paper? How you can write research paper once everything is done? Basically, there are four main parts of the research, okay, components of research, that are called I, M, R and D. What is I? This is introduction. M stands for methods, R stands for results, and D stands for discussion. In these four parts, what you need to do? In introduction, you need to specify or give the details of review of the existing literature, what existing literatures are saying. For example, if I am doing research on antihypertensive products, so what existing literature are discussing about antihypertensive drugs and the burden of hypertension and issue of hypertension, what are the problems of hypertension, and then based upon these existing literature, where is the research gap, that is why what is the rationale of my study and my objective. In the last paragraph of introduction, there must be rationale and objective of my study. So what you need to do when you are writing a research paper, in introduction you need to divide the introduction in three main paragraphs. In the first paragraph, you need to discuss the issue or the problem available in the society about the topic of the research. For example, if the topic of research is antihypertensive product, so hypertension. In the second paragraph, you need to discuss more about the literature and the issue available locally and internationally. And then the third part, you need to relate these rationale, that because of these issues I am doing this research and the objective of my research is so and so. So by this way you can complete the introduction. In methods, you need to discuss in very detail the study design. Study design, like for example, you have experimental study, prospective study or retrospective study, or it is observational studies, like for example cohort study or cross-sectional survey or whatever you are doing. You should also mention here study design, the method of data collection, the primary method or secondary method, and you also need to mention here the duration of study, so that from where when you have started and when you have finished the study, and you also need to add here from where you have conducted this study, in inpatient setting of the study should also be mentioned here. If it is feasible to mention the medical center, name of the medical center or the hospital, that would be okay. But if you do not have permission to mention the name of the research center or the medical center, then don't mention, just mention that in a large medical center, don't write the name of the center. But if you have permission, you can use the name. You can also mention the research method, same like primary method or secondary method, and statistical test, what you have applied for the analysis of a study. Once you have done, you have written this method, this part of the research, then you need to write the results. Find the descriptive analysis or inferential statistics, whatever the statistical results are there, you need to mention in either in tabular form, tabulated form, in the form of table, or in the diagrammatic or in the figure form. And but do not forget to mention the caption of these diagram or the table, that what you are trying to mentioning in these tables or the figures. Sometimes researcher also write in or describe briefly the research or the finding of the study, and if you are describing it, then do not need to mention in the table, because duplications are not required in the results. Either mention in the tabular form or write your findings or the results. So any one method is appropriate. In the discussion section, explanation of the findings, whatever the findings are here, you need to discuss in the section of discussion. In the discussion, you can elaborate it, you can discuss it, you can compare it with other researchers' findings. Mean what about the other researchers are saying about the same issue or same drug, and how your results are comparable with other research. Maybe your findings or your results are comparable to other, or maybe different. Whether comparable or different, both should be mentioned, and must mention the reference, that what reference you are comparing. And another important part is that in introduction and discussion section, most of the references, cross references, means the references of other author, you usually cite. At the end of the study, you also mention the limitation of your study, that what are the limitations, that what you have not done in your study, and what future research is required in this area. After the discussion, sometime authors also write conclusion of the study. In conclusion, you need to write just 2-3 lines, or sometime a 5-line paragraph maximally, about the major conclusion, that what is the conclusion of your study. Do not write excessively in the conclusion. After writing all these parameters, then you need to write the abstract of the study. Abstract is the summary of the whole research. So by this way you can complete your research paper. Now the next important part is ethical consideration. In clinical research involves testing intervention in human to establish efficacy and safety, must involve careful design and implementation to ensure protection of the human subjects. Because sometimes or it happened in past that some researchers do misadventure in the research. That is why ethical consideration should be involved to protect the human subject. It means that unnecessary research should be avoided. Unnecessary research should be avoided. The research should be implemented and stick to the main objective of the research. What are the ethical principles which should be followed? First of all, respect for person, means individual autonomy and right to self-determination. Means that the person who is participating in research, they have full autonomy and right of self-determination. When you are requesting them to participate, or when you are taking consent from them, that you want to, whether you want to participate in the study or you do not want to participate, at that time you give him or her the full autonomy and self determination, that whether they want to participate, or if they do not want to participate, then you cannot influence them to participate. Another important part of this respect for person is that, or autonomy is that, if someone wants to participate and enroll themselves in the research in the beginning, but during the research, if the individual is saying that I do not want to continue the study, then you cannot stop them, because this is individual autonomy or self determination. You cannot stop them, and you can provide all the benefits till the point when the patient or the subject decided to leave the study. So you have to provide all the benefits till that point. You cannot stop their benefits. Beneficence, second is the important point, means maximize possible benefits and minimize possible harms to the patient. And justice, fairness and distribution, and emphasize burdens and benefits. That is fairness and distribution, means you can, if you are dividing the population in two equal halves, for example, one for the experimental drug and second for the control drug, means the already available or the brand drug. So you need to give them equal chance for the distribution, either in the experimental drug or the in control drug. You cannot decide yourself as a researcher that this patient will go in the control drug and this patient will go in the experimental drug. So if you will decide, then it will be biasness and it is injustice and it is against the fairness. So to keep the fairness, you need to do the randomization, avoid biasness, and give equal chance to all patients for the distribution in different segments of the research. Now Another important ethical parameter is the data confidentiality, means privacy of the subject and confidentiality of the whole data. Patient confidentiality and privacy should be maintained. It should not be disclosed to any open forum to avoid any reason of embarrassment for the subject. Now, what are the key ethical challenges in research? First is the placebo. Placebo are gold standard. However, Declaration of Helsinki mention benefits, risks and burdens and effectiveness of new intervention must be tested against those of the best current proven intervention. Here, this is very important point. In this point, it is important. For example, if you are making a new drug, entirely new drug, there is no comparator available in the market. Means, for example, same you can talk about HIV, anti-HIV drug or anti-COVID-19 drug. So, for this drug, so far there is no available product in the market which can control these infections. So, in this infection, if we are evaluating it in human, then we need to evaluate with the placebo, because placebo is the only way to compare the efficacy of this drug, because there is no available standard in the market. But if the drug is available, standard is available, for example, you have made a new antihypertensive drug, but there are many standards available in the market, like for example beta blockers, atenolol, for example calcium channel blockers, for example ACE inhibitors. So you need to compare your drug with these standards. In this situation, you are not justified, or it is unethical to compare your new drug with placebo. So what is the conclusion? That if your drug is not a new in therapeutic area, but drug is new, means that the comparator or the standard is available in the market, then it is unethical to compare your new drug with the placebo, but you need to compare it with the standard, because it is unethical to leave the patient with the placebo for the situation in which the comparative drug or the standard drug is available, because do not devoid them, do not deprivate patient from the standard. But if there is no comparator available and your therapeutic your drug is entirely new or a breakthrough product, then in this situation you can, as you do not have option to compare with any standard, because the standard is not available in the market, then you can compare with the placebo. In this situation, it will be considered as ethical, otherwise it is unethical. Phase 1 studies done on healthy volunteers and cannot bring benefit to the healthy participants. This is also, but this is another important point. If the drug is like that, it cannot be it is not possible to trial them on healthy volunteers, then we need to take the patients. For example, antibiotics can be tried on the healthy volunteers, but antihypertensive or anti-diabetic drugs or anti-cancer drugs cannot be tried on healthy volunteers. Conflict of interest. Sometimes there are conflict of interest in the research. Maybe financial conflict of interest or intellectual conflict of interest. Now, let me tell you financial and non-financial or the intellectual conflict of interest. Financial conflict of interest is that if the product in suppose that you are a researcher and you are doing a research on a new product which is planned to be marketed by a pharmaceutical company. A pharmaceutical company hired you as a researcher to do a research on their product, and you are doing the research, but you have financial interest in that company. Like for example, you are shareholder of that company. So you will try to get the result of that product in a exaggerated way. You will, because you have interest, financial interest in that company, because you will think that if this product will give good results in the market, then this product will give definitely financial revenue to the company. Once the financial revenue are more to the company, then there will be more profit to the company, and when more profit to the company, then more profit will be paid to the shareholders. So as I am the shareholder, I will get more financial benefit. So, and I am also researcher, so I will try to give exaggerated result of this product. So this is financial conflict of interest. So this interest should be declared if it is existing, and if there is no financial conflict of interest, then it is fine. Now another is the intellectual conflict of interest. Intellectual conflict of interest is own beliefs or own experiences. Own experiences, for example, I have experienced that this drug is better than the other drug. This is my own experience in clinical practice. This is called, as it is my belief, that is, it is called my intellectual interest. So sometime, but the guideline is saying this, that your belief or your intellect is wrong. So sometimes this intellectual conflict of interest also exists in research as well as in clinical practice. Okay, the next key ethical challenge is genetics research. For example, informational risk, discrimination, psychological harm, harm of family relationship. Means, because if you are doing the genetic research, you will study the gene of the individual. Then you will come to know that this gene is from this one, and maybe it is from other race, so I may discriminate it, and the personal information may be leaked, harm for the family relationship. So all could be the ethical challenges in genetics research. Next is the public registration of clinical research, which is mandatory in the USA. Whatever the clinical research is going on, the researcher must register themselves with the FDA. Clinicaltrial.gov, FDA. It is a website of the FDA, that it is that all clinical research must be registered with the FDA. So information can be leaked. So this is also ethical challenge. And the globalization of clinical research. IRB's confrontations with cultural values, and some sponsors may use vulnerable foreign population. This is also important clinical research issue, ethical challenge. Number one, IRB's confrontation. What is IRB? IRB is Investigational Review Boards or Ethics Committee. Ethics Committee have sometime confrontations with cultural values. Suppose that the research is going on in a company that is existing in non-Muslim country, and all members of IRB are non-Muslim. So and they are doing a research on a product which is having a some portion, or the some incipient or excipient of the drug is having the portion of pork origin. Now pork is not acceptable in Muslim. So now this is cultural values. This is against the, if the IRB is giving approval to try it in Muslim population, so it is confrontation with the cultural value. So IRBs, so this issue should be addressed, that if the drug is tried in Muslim population, then it should be free from pork origin, or what could be the other possibilities. And some persons may use vulnerable foreign populations, means weak population, or the poor population, or the children. So vulnerable population should not be used in the research. Now the next step is the research design and method. For a study to be considered best available clinically relevant research, it should have sound research design and methodology. So its design should be sound and its methodology should be perfect. Means that the design should be whatever you are doing, experimental study, clinical study, or observational study, or the methodology, primary methodology or secondary methodology. It should be clearly stated. How you can make a good study design? Overall plan that allows researcher to gather answer to study question and test study hypothesis. First of all, you should have a clear research question and hypothesis, which we have already discussed in the beginning. Study design hinges on the ability to provide the valid results. So, if valid results, study design, if the design is well, the results will be valid. Validity reflects the accuracy of the study results. Definitely, if the results are valid, it means study is accurate. Now, what is validity of study design? How you can check the validity? There are two validities of the study: internal validity and external validity. Both validities should be available in the results. There must be a balance in internal validity and external validity. What is internal validity? Internal validity is extent to which outcome of interest is caused by the treatment, and a good design increases internal validity by controlling the extraneous factor that may influences the outcome. Means that internal validity is extent. Internal validity is telling you that outcome of interest dependent variable is caused by the treatment. Means, for example, here independent variable is drug and dependent variable is antihypertensive effect. So we want to check that this independent variable drug is reducing the dependent variable, means decreasing the blood pressure. If it is clearly stated that it is because of the reduction in blood pressure is because of drug, then this is called internal validity. Means there is no other extraneous factor that influences this outcome. Means that the drug clearly reducing the blood pressure and there is no other factor involved in reducing the blood pressure. If this is very clear in the study and there is no any factor which influences in the reduction of blood pressure, means, for example, okay, I will tell you in the external validity, but here in internal validity, if it is clear that the drug reduces the blood pressure and there is no any other factor which reduces the blood pressure, there is no any other factor influences this outcome or the reduction in blood pressure, means that study have internal validity. What is external validity? Means extent to which the results of a study can be generalized to other setting or the results are replicated in other situation settings or the population. External validity is that if the study has been conducted and the results are here that the drug is reducing the blood pressure and it is clearly stated, internal validity is there. But the external validity is there that whether these results you can apply to your population which is available in your practice. For example, you have patient of hypertension. Can you use the results of this study in your population? This is a question mark. If the population is studied in the in this study, or the population which was enrolled in the study, that was different from the population which you see in your practice, general practice, then the external validity is compromised, because the population which you have in your setting is different from the population which is in the study. So you cannot use this study in your population and external validity is compromised. Means that results cannot be replicated in your situation, in your clinical setting or in your population. So external validity is compromised. So the study should also have external validity, means that the results of the study should be applied to your population. For example, population which you are using in your clinical study should have that kind of population which you see in your practice. So internal value in this situation, internal validity will be compromised, but you try to keep the internal validity as maximum as possible. But in order to maximize the external validity, or in order to keep the external validity, you have applied different situations and different settings and different population in your study. Although different situation, different setting and different population compromise the internal validity, because by applying these things, this extraneous factors will that may influence the outcome of the study. But you have to do it, because whatever the research you are doing in your study, you have to make it possible to use it for the general population. And even if you see in a general situation, when you prescribe a medication to 10 patients, it is not possible that all patients will follow the medication profile or medication recommendation as per instruction. Means compliance will vary. So this is real life situation. So to keep the real life situation in the study, you need to keep the external validity, means other situation, other setting and population should be applied. So there must be a balance in internal validity and external validity. You cannot do, or you cannot make a study 100% with internal validity, or you cannot make a study with 100% external validity. There must be a balance of the internal validity and external validity. Now causality, cause and effect relationship, means that the drug really reduce the blood pressure, means the effect is reduction in blood pressure. Causal relationship between treatment and outcome, means treatment is the drug and outcome is the antihypertensive effect. In observational design research, observe causality between independent and dependent variables. Independent variable could be drug or service or device, and dependent variable is the outcome or the therapeutic result. In experimental design research, control the independent variable to establish causality with dependent variable. Independent variable should be controlled and to determine that, like for example, independent variable is drug, and determine that this causality is establish the causality with dependent variable, that it causes the effect on dependent variable, that whether it is reducing the blood pressure or not. Research design classification, study based upon study purpose, time orientation, investigator orientation and experimental settings. Study purpose, descriptive study or analytical study. Time orientation, prospective study, retrospective study. Investigator orientation, intervention or quasi-experimental. Experimental setting, RCTs, randomized control trials and observational. At a time, there are possibility that there could be more than one types of research design, that study purpose, time orientation, investigator orientation, experimental. For example, I am doing analytical, prospective, interventional, randomized control studies. So possible, these all four are study design components. Study purpose, descriptive studies. What are the purpose of descriptive studies? Does describe or summarize the information and includes disease, events or subject characteristics. Okay, whatever the information is available, you need to summarize the information from the large data and in disease, event or subject character. In analytical studies, aimed at understanding relationship between two or more variable. Here, for example, the drug and the effect of drug. One variable is drug and the other effect is its effect or the antihypertensive effect. This is called analytical studies. In descriptive, for example, you have collected the data of 1000 population of the hypertensive patient, and you are summarizing the data and collecting the mean blood pressure of the population. So what is the mean blood pressure in my population? So this is descriptive. Time orientation, prospective studies and retrospective studies. What are prospective studies? Research collects the data after the study onset, means that research, as I told you, that in prospective means future. Research collects the data after study onset, means once the study started, then you start to collect the data. Determines and define the research variables and resources and time and cost intensive, means it needs resources, time and cost. Retrospective studies, evaluation of data of the past events, means patient files, medical records, data obtained from medical records, charts, files and insurance claims. Minimal resource intensives, means not very much expensive. Limitation is that research cannot control past events or data collection method, means that the data which has been collected for other purposes and you are using it for your own purpose, so you cannot modify the data, you cannot get it according to your objective. Investigator orientation, investigation, intervention research. Research control the treatment, provision of treatment randomly or non-randomly. Quasi-experimental studies, they are also like randomized control studies, however, they have no randomization. Experimental setting, randomized control trials, randomization of intervention to two or more groups and gold standard in evaluating safety and efficacy of intervention. In this study, RCDs, you compare two treatment and the patients are randomized, means that to avoid the biasness. In observational design, conduct in natural setting, no randomization, data collected by primary or secondary method. Types of observational research. What are the different types of observational research? Uh, if we talk about the types of observational research, we have case study, study of the single case series study of the multiple but similar cases, means all hypertensive cases or all diabetes cases. Here we have just single case of diabetes. This case was difficult and I have managed it, so I want to publish it, so I will publish it as a case report. Cross-sectional study examines population characteristics at one point in time, determine prevalence and incidences. This is a survey-based research. Case control studies, comparison of exposure status among subjects with the disease and those without, means comparison of exposure status among subjects with the disease and those without. Those who have exposure of certain, for example, smoking exposure, and then the disease happen, and those who do not have smoking exposure but they have disease. Two groups are defined by presence or absence of outcomes. So what are the exposures and what are the other factors? This is called case control study. Cohort studies, two groups, exposed and unexposed, are followed over a period of time until outcome of interest are developed. This is also, here there is a mild difference. The case control study and cohort study. In this comparison of exposure status among subjects with the disease and those without exposure, two groups are defined by presence or absence of outcome. For example, in this two groups are, for example, two groups are there. One is having hypertension, another is not having hypertension, but exposure is there on both subjects. For example, both are smokers. One group of smoker have got hypertension, another group of smoker does not have hypertension. So why another group do not have hypertension? This should be determined by case control study. In this one, exposed and unexposed, like a smoker and unsmoker, non-smoker, followed over a period of time until outcome. Exposed individual means smokers have blood pressure and non-smokers have blood pressure. So why smokers have blood pressure, why non-smokers have blood pressure? This type of study is called cohort study. They are prospective or sometime retrospective. Research methodology, focus on data collection and measurement of technique. We need to focus on the data collection and measurement techniques, how you will measure the data. Data collection methodologies are primary method and secondary method that we already discussed in the beginning. Choice of data collection method depend upon research question, population of interest, availability and feasibility of data. How you will collect the data depend upon our research question. What answer we need from our research, what is the population, what is available and what is feasible and cost effective. Reliability, consistency and reproducibility of results. Test and retest reliability. What is test retest reliability? Extent to which answers to same instrument correlate when measured in same sample over different time period. And inter-rater reliability, extent to which results are consistent when same measurement instrument is used by multiple rater person, or reproducibility. Validity, extent to which instrument measures what is intended to measure. Face validity, appearance of an instrument is used to evaluate the validity. Whatever the instrument which you are using, instrument could be the questionnaire, is it valid? Content validity, assess whether measurement contain required domain or area to accurately measure the concept. For example, agree to instrument used for the osteoporosis guideline validity. Agree to instrument basically is used for the determination of clinical practice guideline applicability magnitude. Construct validity, extent to which an instrument measure the underlying construct that its purpose to measure, and similar construct should have convergent validity, and different construct should have discriminant validity. So similar construct should have convergent, means single point validity, and this different construct, different type of instruments have discriminating validity. So it should be avoided. Validity should be convergent. Data method that we already discussed. Primary method in self-report, observation, biological assessments. Secondary methods, medical records, medical claims, and research data. This data we are collecting for our own research prospectively. Self-reports, data collection by direct questioning of the patients. Patients' thoughts, perceptions, attitudes, and behaviors can be collected. Surveys and interviews are implemented to collect the data. Surveys collect sets of questions aimed at collecting data relevant to the purpose of a study. Questions can be open-ended, close-ended, or advanced. Open-ended questions, for example, one example of open-ended question: after taking the drug, how you feel? After taking this drug, how you feel? The patient will have open chance to explain the answer. Close-ended, the answer is always in yes, no, or there is close-ended. Like for example, did you get relief after taking this medication? Definitely the answer is either yes or no. This type of questions are called close-ended. Advanced questions are, for example, if you want to compare with something. For example, you want to ask the question with the patient that how you compare the effect of this drug with your previously taking medication. So this type of question is called advanced question. In this question, the patient will think about it and answer the question. Survey can be done by mail, interview, or internet. There are many possible ways. Interviews provide opportunity for researcher to ask question and listen to participant response. It could be structured interviews, semi-structured, or unstructured. Semi-structured interviews, same set of question is presented to all participants. Semi-structured, structured and unstructured set of questions, follow up and or clarifying the questions. You have chance to clarify the questions. Unstructured, non-standardized, flexible, and non-predetermined set of questions. There is no predetermined question here. You can go there and start to ask the question. This is called unstructured question or unstructured interview. Observations. Obtrusive observations and unobtrusive observation. In obtrusive observation, participant is aware that he is or she is being observed during the study. Means participant is aware that that participant is observed for during the research. So this type of called obtrusive observation. Unobtrusive, participant is unaware of the observer who may be hidden or disguised. The participant is not aware that during the research the participant is under the observation, but participant is not aware of that. First, if the participant is not taking the medication on time or maybe discarding it in the dustbin, so it will be recorded by hidden camera or by any way, by any disguised way. So that will be that type of observation in the research is called unobtrusive observation. Usually unobtrusive observations are required in studies pertaining to psychology or psychiatry. Biological assessment, biophysical, biochemical, microbiological, biophysical assessment. For example, bone density determination, blood pressure, forced expiratory volume in asthmatic patient. Biological assessment, blood glucose, urine creatinine, serum drug level. Microbiological, bacterial culture, antibiotic susceptibility analysis, malarial parasites. These are called biological assessment. Means the results are we are getting through biological tests. So this is all about of our basics of the research. I hope you have enjoyed it, and soon we will come back with another lecture of research methodology on the new topic. Thank you very much.